All right, let's get into this one. So, Dylan, you picked this one here for you. So, this is Alex from Oregon, and he's asking, why did you and your family choose the Big Island over others? Do property taxes differ from island to island? Dylan, why did you pick the Big Island?
I don't know if I can take credit for picking the Big Island since my parents and ancestors chose it for us. But growing up here and then moving away and living in California, and I lived in Oahu for a couple of years, it definitely made me appreciate everything that we have here. And it really depends on the lifestyle that you want to live. And we're outdoorsy people. We like going to the beach, going out into nature, doing stuff, fishing, hiking, and the Big Island has just probably more of that than anywhere else, just because it is so big and it's so diverse in terms of the different climates and areas that you can go to. So you can spend the next weekend. We're going to spend 2 nights camping up in the mountain at like 6,000 feet at a cabin, totally off the grid. And the next weekend you can spend the weekend at the beach, or at home, planting the garden, or harvesting fresh fruit off your land. So there's all kinds of stuff you can do, and it's very small, still small town feel. So a lot of the people that I grew up with that are still around are the people that are running businesses now and doing things. And you constantly run into people that and it has that small town feel, unlike a big city where you don't necessarily have that. So if that's what you're looking for, the Big Island is definitely for you. And there's no place I would rather raise my kids. That's the biggest thing, I think, at the end of the day, is my kids are growing up in a very similar environment to minus the iPads and stuff that I grew up in. They go to the same judo sensei that I went to judo with, and they play on the same at the same parks and do a lot of the same things that I got to do as a kid. So that's just a cool experience. So that's the main reason I'm here. For property tax wise, they are different island to island, but they don't vary extremely. There's not an extreme difference. So it may be a point of a percentage different based on the real estate class, but there's not a huge swing. So normally, if it's a second home, it's like around 1% of your assessed value, and if you're an owner occupant, it's going to be about 0.5%, 0.6%, depending island to island. So it's going to be ballpark around there.
I think I like your story on the Big Island because you were born there, you were born and raised there, but you did have a chance. You did go to the mainland. You did live in California. You did live on Oahu, so you could have chosen to stay in California or to come back. Hey, I got a quick question for you, Dylan. I think you mentioned this in an earlier show, but I can't recall. You mentioned that when you left to go to California, I can't recall if you said that you had no plans of coming back when you left, or what was your, because there's an interesting thing with, as a parent of two, and my girls are in their 20s. One of them thought, I'm never coming back, and another one thought, I'm never going to leave, and the end result is the two completely flipped. The one who was never going to leave is gone and never coming back, and the one who said she's going to leave is still here. So what's your story about that?
I don't know if there was a singular tipping point, but I just came to appreciate what I had, and especially family. That was a big thing for me. Being gone, was you're raised here, very family centric. Every single holiday there's 25 to 35 people at my house, and as people, my cousins and my brothers and in-laws have kids, that number grows, and that's just a normal occurrence. And to me, if we lived somewhere else and we had to spend holiday just with my immediate family, it'd be really weird, and we definitely miss that. So I think that was a big piece of it. Was, although I was in the military and you have your military family, it was very odd not having that family nucleus around all the time, having my grandparents around, having uncles and aunties, and the part of the Hawaii culture here, which a lot of my clients love that move here and become friends, is that when they come to my house and they visit, my kids call them auntie and uncle, right? It doesn't matter who you are, everybody's your auntie and your uncle here. And that's just a part of the culture that makes it really special, where it's not just your immediate family, but I have tons of people that I consider family that aren't my blood, but that's just the way we live here. And that's something that's, it's not like that everywhere. And when you've been to other places, I think, and you've grown up around that, you miss it.
Yeah, that's definitely a real powerful piece. Now, Scott, you live on Oahu, but you also have some family land, property on the Big Island, and you were just there over the holiday weekend. Um, you live on Oahu, so you've chosen to live there. But if you were going to choose to the Big Island, why would you move to the Big Island? What do you like about it?
Yeah, I mean it's a more relaxed pace. I started off on the Big Island in '99, and I was there for on and off for 5 years, back and forth between here and Oahu. And I chose Oahu because the economy is more diversified. It's not as dependent on tourism. I grew up in a city in Charlotte, North Carolina, so I wanted more of the city aspect. I was used to more the little bit of faster pace, work hard, play hard. The Big Island is one of my favorite places, though. I absolutely love it, and it's more about family. It's more about being able to take some time to make sure you enjoy life. I get caught up a little bit in the hustle and bustle over here at times. Part of that's a choice, but yeah, the Big Island has this element of just a relaxed ease. I mean, I drive down the highway now, still going on the lower highway over to Kauai to the family restaurant, and I'm giving shaka to people that I still know and still recognize me in my uncle's car and stuff, and go up the hill to Waimea, same sort of thing. People honking at me, and I'm just like, oh, hey,
That's really cool.
Yeah, the Big Island's a nice, family-oriented community and more relaxed.
Definitely, yeah, that outdoor, that relaxing. Excellent, great stuff, guys. Folks, if you got some questions, make sure you pop them in the comments. We'll do the best we can to address them. Let's move on to let's hit our Scott question over here. So what we got here is we have a couple questions that are all kind of related, and we have Linda from San Diego said, what's it like living on the east or west side of the island of Oahu? Are they significantly different from weather to lifestyle? I would love it if you would ID the neighborhood you're filming. So when we drive around, we're going to do that. The other question is from D from Atlanta, who says, "Hey, I would move tomorrow. However, what are some of the better neighborhoods? Is there any new construction real estate in Hawaii? I know my family will love the Hawaiian culture. What about the vlog? The VOG, is it bad for the lungs?" And the quick answer is, yeah, VOG's not good especially if you have the respiratory issues. Finally, the other one from Hannah Thomas, Hannah from Florida says, the different neighborhoods in Oahu are on sale, and on the quieter side is not downtown Honolulu. As I research, I've been thinking possibly Kapolei or North Shore, but would love your opinion on these areas and other areas that are safe, chill, and nice. So, Scott, what I'm kind of catching on this is there's a bunch of questions that are related to neighborhoods. What are the neighborhoods like on Oahu? So can you give us a really, really brief, let's hit east, west, North Shore, and what we call town or downtown area? I think let's start with that and we kind of go further.
Yeah, so sometimes east-west side, we talk about windward versus leeward. And essentially what we're talking about from weather at that standpoint is our trades and the clouds and moisture and things come in from that east side, northeast side, bring cooler weather, cooler winds, but they come across and they hit the Ko'olau Mountains, and as the clouds rise to go over them, they will release that moisture. So therefore, the windward side or the east side of Oahu tends to be wetter, more rain, more lush, green, tropical landscaping, especially the closer you get to the mountains. So Kailua, for example, which is one of my favorite neighborhoods on the island, more of a beach community. I almost kind of think of it as like a boutique beach town because it's got a lot of boutique shops and restaurants within the town itself. A lot of people will ride their bikes to the beach from their house on that side, and it revolves around two of the best beaches in the world. I mean, Lanikai Beach has always been up at the top of the rankings for best beaches in the world. It's been discovered a little bit, but probably about 40,000 people that live in Kailua. Now, it sits out on a peninsula, so it stays a little drier, but Kaneohe is another excellent alternative, but the beaches are in Kailua, so you're driving to Kailua, or you're having to go up a little further up the windward coast for that. But it is closer to the mountains, so it tends to be a little wetter, a little more green in Kaneohe. North Shore is going to be country, relaxed vibe. Haleiwa is a fun little town, but you're out in the country. It's going to be much more quiet. You're based around surf and beaches and relaxed vibe. And then Kapolei, for example, or out towards that side. That's Kapolei is going to be our second city, or it is our second city. It's kind of started to develop out in the last 4 years, really develop out, that's where our new construction's going. And then if you're in town Honolulu or that South Shore, you're in the heavier urban development and have access to everything you want from a city standpoint.
I was distracted doing some Q&A on the comments. Did you speak about the west side of Oahu?
Yeah, so west side, I mean, we're kind of talking Kapolei on around. I mean, once you get onto that leeward, the true what we call leeward coast, Waianae, Nanakuli, and Makaha, I love that area along the coast. I love that area in certain areas. The beaches are beautiful. You do have an economic standpoint that comes into play. There's much more, government assistance out that side. You also have a lot of ag land out there, and then your commute. So if you're looking to relax and kind of get out in the countryside, you can still do it out on that Makaha side. The one challenge for out there, which I love those beaches, and it's an affordable area to live, is the commute, getting in and out. And if traffic happens or an accident happens, then you're stuck.
And you mentioned this earlier, and Dylan, I'd like you to chime in on this. But the west depends on how far onto the leeward or west side you go. But there are some cultural adjustment issues. I would, unless you're, I would not. If you're from the mainland and you're moving to Hawaii for the first time, there's the Dylan smile. If you're trying to kind of say this, truthfully, I'm picking my words carefully because I want to be accurate. I don't want to mischaracterize the place. It's a great place. There's great people there. There's great families, and someone who is acclimated to local culture is not going to have a problem there for the most part. But if you've just moved over here and you're still trying to get kind of your sea legs, that's not the place I would, that's not the first place I would move to if I just came here from, North Carolina, Scott, or from Chicago. Dylan, how would you characterize what people need to kind of be prepared for, think about if they want to go to that leeward side, which is attractive from the mainland perspective? When you're doing Google searches, you see the lower prices, and so you think, let's move there. But what kind of advice would you give someone, Dylan, to say, if you're going to think about that west side, you want to think about that before you actually you plunk it down as the first place that you land?
Yeah, and let's be honest, as beautiful as Hawaii is, we have our challenges like everywhere else does, and there are places in every island that has communities that have socioeconomic challenges, and they're just places that, for a lot of reasons, are not as easy to live in because of the challenges in the community. So that's something you definitely want to consider and get some good advice on before you move to some place like that. Is and real estate prices are reflective of those challenges, and so, among other things, that's what you gotta consider is, what do the schools look like, and what do the parks look like, and what kind of things are going on in the community that you may want to consider. And you can look at the news. I mean, there's tons of news stories about homeless, encampments and different things going on, and those things happen. Every island has them, but that's something that you want to look at prior to making a decision if that's someplace where you want to live and invest money into.
And here's a kind of a good pitch for why you want to work with us, why you want to work with Scott, or why you want to work with Dylan, because you could do a bunch of Google searches and the real estate thing I forget, is Zillow searches, etc., and things might look good on paper, but you really kind of want to get sort of a feet on the ground view. Of course, obviously, you want to kind of see it when you get here as well.